be getting started for the sake of time. And we're again very excited that so many people are joining us. People are popping in literally every 10 seconds. And I can understand why we have such an amazing conversation to have as we are coming up on yet a second monumental election in this 1 year. Absolutely phenomenal. And so we can tell by all of the folks that are logging in that we're not just the only ones here at Be The Now that understand just how critical this is. So without further ado, because one of our very first guests will be coming in exactly in a few seconds to speak. And so I want to hand over after, of course, again, welcoming all of you to our conversation here at Be The Now. I want to turn it over to our, this is her brainchild and her baby, but our co-founder, Mrs. Cheryl Neal, who understood the importance of not just this election, but voting all together and becoming a really informed voter, and realizing that it's not just, you know, a privilege, but it's actually our birthright. And so we're excited to have her on as well tonight to be able to give us, anybody who's new here, a little snippet of what Be The Now is and to introduce our very first guest. So Mrs. Cheryl Neal, take it over.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us this evening. As Kay stated, I am the co-founder and CEO of Be The Now. Kay, thank you so much. She is an amazing motivational speaker. She has a large organization, and I just want to thank her for taking time to actually be a part of this organization, as well as a lot of other individuals on this call that we'll discuss and I will introduce later on. But because of the time, one of our first guests is on, Mr. Ossoff. We'd like to thank you for coming on. We know you're extremely busy, but this is an important time of a year. And I also want to thank Representative Derrick Jackson for actually allowing and helping this to happen. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started because of the time constraint. Mr. Ossoff, you know, again, thank you. And just let the people on the call know why this election is so important, not just for the state of Georgia, but for our nation.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Deeply appreciate the hospitality. Thank you for your inspiring leadership of Be The Now. I also want to recognize the newly elected minority leader in Georgia's General Assembly, my friend James Beverly. Representative, it's great to see you. I want to recognize Dean Calvin Smyre, down Muskogee County Way. Representative Smyre, always a pleasure to see you. I want to recognize my friend Representative Derrick Jackson, an extraordinary patriot and public servant in Georgia's legislature. I'm not sure if he's with us, but I want to give a shout out to Pastor James Woodall, the incredibly inspiring and young and dynamic leader of our state's NAACP. And if Daniel Blackman, the PSC candidate, is with us. In fact, Daniel and the Reverend and I were just rallying in Lithonia earlier today. Daniel, it's been a real pleasure to be on the trail with you. So look, let me break it down like this, if I might, Cheryl. I want to talk about two things. First of all, the stakes, and second of all, what we need to do in these next few days. And let me begin by saying I don't presume or feel any sense of entitlement to anyone's support. I consider myself here to earn the support of those who are tuned into this call. And something that I want y'all to know about me is that I have a heart for justice, and that the values I'm fighting for in this campaign have not just emerged because I'm running for office. My mother, who's an immigrant to this country, told me every morning to be kind to someone. She raised me to be a compassionate person. She raised me to prioritize service. I cut my teeth working for John Lewis and was inspired by his passion and his example and his commitment to building the beloved community. I am not new to the issues that confront us at this moment. I've been working on civil rights and criminal justice reform issues for over a decade. I worked for years for Congressman Hank Johnson, assisting his efforts to expand justice and opportunity for all communities in our state. And the work that I do at my business is all about exposing corruption, exploitation, oppression, and the abuse of power. So I say all that to say that when I lay out the stakes, let no one be under the impression that it's just election time and here comes a politician talking about what matters. These are issues that have always mattered to me, and I've been in the trenches fighting alongside many of you for many years, and it's important that I say that, and I humbly ask you to make sure that folks know that. So let me talk now about the stakes. It says a lot about how far Georgia has come and how far the American South has come, does it not? That, first of all, Georgia is the most competitive battleground state in the country. You told folks that 12 years ago, heads would have started spinning. I think Dean Smyre can confirm that. Not only that, we've got 2 US Senate races in a single year. That almost never happens. You got 2 US Senate runoffs in the most competitive battleground state in a single year. It's never happened. And these 2 US Senate runoffs will determine control of the United States Senate. And the standard bearers in these 2 races, and this is significant, are the young Jewish journalist, son of an immigrant mentored by John Lewis, and a Black preacher who holds Dr. King's pulpit at Ebenezer Baptist Church. We have come a long way, but we have a lot further to go, and that's what's at stake here, the prospects for progress. And I want to be very specific about the policy that's on the line. First of all, as we're seeing right now, whether COVID relief is of the substance and magnitude necessary to relieve the immediate suffering of so many people in this state and across this country, so many families who have rent past due, credit cards maxed out, bills piling up, childcare they can't afford, prescriptions they can't afford, suffering in this COVID economy through no fault of their own, suffering in this COVID economy in large part because of the catastrophic incompetence and neglect and negligence of our leaders. For the people who need help to get the help they need, we have to win these Senate races. We're seeing right now that they believe $600 is sufficient after 8 months of obstruction. The Senate is blocking the relief that we need. And we all know this. McConnell will try to do to Joe and Kamala exactly like he tried to do to President Obama. They'll block it all just to block it, just to ruthlessly exercise power for its own sake. We're in the midst of a crisis. That's unacceptable. We've got to fund the public health response, get resources to the CDC, get resources to the hospital systems buckling under the weight of this pandemic. And there's a broader agenda at stake: health, jobs, and justice for all people. I was just in Cuthbert, Georgia 6 days ago. Their hospital closed in October in the middle of a pandemic in the United States of America, the wealthiest country in the world. Our leaders allowed that hospital to close. Where were our senators? Folks in Cuthbert have to drive an hour and a half to get to an emergency room. 9 rural hospitals have closed in Georgia in 10 years, in large part because of the cynical refusal of this state's Republican leadership to expand Medicaid. We can reopen those 9 hospitals. We can build clinics that will serve every community in this state. We can end the race and class disparities and inequities in healthcare. And by the way, that also means ensuring greater Black representation in the healthcare field by getting the resources to our HBCUs that they need to expand their health and medical field training capacity. We can establish healthcare as a human right in this country so that no one suffers or dies because of how much money's in their bank account or their zip code. We can do that. We have a moral obligation to do that. We can invest in economic revitalization and infrastructure and clean energy and job creation. We can pass the most ambitious relief package in American history, helping our urban, suburban, and rural communities alike with new transit and transportation projects, upgrading our public school facilities, building those hospitals and clinics, getting broadband internet access to every community. We can raise the minimum wage so that an honest week's work allows someone not just to barely survive, but to thrive. And we can have the most productive 2 years for civil rights and voting rights legislation in this country since 1964 and 1965. We can pass a new Civil Rights Act to establish national standards for the use of force, to hold local authorities accountable where there's profiling or brutality, to reform our broken and disgusting prison system. We can pass a new Voting Rights Act so that it is a federal crime for election authorities to abuse their power to disenfranchise their own citizens. We can do all of these things. We should feel excited about the fact that we can do all of these things. But if we don't win these two races, we can do none of them. And so I'm asking y'all to work not for the sake of my ambition and not for the glory of a political party, but because of the tangible consequences for our communities. Because policy matters, because elections have real human consequences, and they don't get any bigger than this. And let me lay this out as directly as I possibly can. Black voters in Georgia will determine control of the United States Senate, period. And what happens over these next 8 days will be decisive and have an impact for decades to come. So let us do this work together from a place of love so that we can advance and make real this country's promise unfulfilled of equality under the law, of equal justice, of equal opportunity. A lot of people are counting on us, and I ask you to do everything in your power relentlessly and without rest and without fear for these next 8 days to get everybody out to the polls. It is going to be so, so close. And I'm honored to fight alongside you and humbly ask you for your help. And thank you again for the courtesy and generosity of this opportunity to address you. I wish everybody good night and God bless you and good health. Thank you so much.
It was extremely powerful. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come on to the call. You know, there are a lot of people that we have talked to, and we've made sure people go out to vote early. We were telling people the first week to get out to vote, the second week get out to vote. People can early vote up until the 31st. We know right now where the numbers are. It's showing that 44% of Democrats compared to 41% of Republicans have actually already cast their vote, but we still need people to go out this week. We know that a lot of Republicans, they will vote on January 5th. So we need us to go out now and January 5th as well. Thank you so much. You have our backing. We're going to do everything necessary to get you in office. Thank you
so much. Love to everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too. That was powerful. Representative Jackson. You're on mute.
Can you hear me, Cheryl?
I can hear you. You definitely have the floor.
Yes, listen, I am so elated for Be Now to have this forum this evening during the most busiest time, the holiday season, but to remind everyone that there is a vote that needs to be cast, and they can do that right now before January 5th. I know Brother Daniel Blackman and Pastor Warnock are coming, but before they get here, I would definitely like for Calvin Smyre, I know he's on a tight schedule as well. If we can just hear from Calvin Smyre, our dean, and then from Pastor James Woodall, he is the state president of the NAACP. So we can hear from Calvin Smyre and then Pastor James Woodall. That would be great. Let me see, make sure. I know I saw
you
Calvin.
Call my name?
Yeah, there you go. We said the dean.
Huh?
We said the dean. You know, listen, we know you're on a tight schedule, but we want to get you in there before Warnock and Daniel Blackman comes on this evening. If you can share a few words on how critical the early vote is and why they're going to try, when we go back in the session here in another few weeks, that they're putting they're trying to implement changes to the election cycle, early voting and everything, the ballot box, the drop boxes. So if you can just share your infinite wisdom, Dean Smyre, that would be great.
Okay. I tell you, I'm between two calls, but it's great to be with y'all again. I'm on a call with Bishop Reginald Jackson and the AME ministers around the state of Georgia, talking about get out to vote, and just got off a call with Congressman Sanford Bishop and Jim Clyburn on a faith-based leaders call. And so we're all in the right mode. We're all geared up, and I think that's important. And every time I hear Ossoff, Cheryl and everyone, I just get inspired, because I mean, he puts it where the goat can get it. I mean, he really knows how to do that. And so I'm just saying, thank you all for all you do. We have to continue to keep the pressure on. I'm cautiously optimistic about the numbers. I looked at the numbers today, and we were down approximately 22% several days ago. We're only down now -6. So to me, if we can just keep pushing the envelope, keep inspiring people, keep touching 1+1. I mean, just, you'd be surprised, just talking to 3 or 4 people, it makes a difference around the state. So just keep doing that, and keep inspiring people. And we had Kamala Harris, Vice President-elect in Columbus last week, and had Ossoff, Warnock, and Blackman here. And everybody's fired up and ready to go. And we just got to continue to do that, and continue to be inspired, and keep inspiring others. This election is so important. And the way Ossoff put it, all the things that we talked about, the quality of life issue, those are the things that are weighing in the balance. If you think about right now, where we are in our nation, just think right now, if the Democrats were in charge of the U.S. Senate, what life would be about all the people that we represent and across America. I mean, we could come to the relief of the American people at this moment, right now. We could come to that. It won't be $600, it'll be $2,000. That's the difference in public policy. And that's the difference on the Affordable Care Act. That's the difference on women's rights. That's the difference on social, all these social injustices, all these inequities that we got that are occurring around America. So all those things could be attended to and could be addressed were it for what? A U.S. Senate that was controlled by the Democrats. So that's what's at stake. That's the balance of power, and that's what we have to continue to fight for. So, Brother Jackson, thank you for allowing me to come and be with y'all, and I'm about to get on this other call. Thank y'all very, very much. I'm gonna listen in.
And Cheryl, I've seen Reverend James Woodall. He's the NAACP. If we can hear from him next. Thank you, Calvin. Brother Woodall.
Yes, I'm here, Representative Jackson, and to Dean Smyre and John Ossoff and Reverend Warnock and Daniel Blackman, and to all of those who are assembled here today. I'd like to start by saying this one thing, that we have no permanent friends. We have no permanent enemies. We only have the permanent interest, and that's the liberation of our people. And in this moment, and in this day of darkness, and in this moment of despair, our people are literally asking who will rise up against the evildoers, the workers of iniquity, to stand up against all of this. And I believe that each and every one of us are saying, "Here am I, send me." And as we declare in the Spirit that we are here to stand against all of this, we not only stand at the ballot box, we not only commit to ensuring that every single eligible voter is able to cast their vote. We not only stand to commit to ensuring that every single vote after the election is counted. We're not only saying that we're going to stand that after the election is over, that we're going to continue to hold each and every elected official accountable, because you know this one thing is that once the election is over, we still have work to do. But we can't get to that work until we get this part done first. And so I thank and applaud each and every one of you for continuing to do the hard work of ensuring that every single person in our community, whether they're high propensity, mid to low propensity, are all turning out the vote. I'm so excited to see these numbers in record fashion. You know, everybody was saying it's hard to get people out to vote in a runoff, but we're showing the nation that we can break records, because when we fight together, when we show up together, when we vote together, when we organize together, we win. And I believe that we're going to win in this election. Winning is not a partisan issue. Winning is an issue of we the people. And so continue to do all that you are doing. Continue pushing out those folks that you think may or may not vote. I know we're all tired of all the text messages and the phone calls and the emails and the fundraising asks, but it's all making a difference. I guarantee you that. So again, Representative Jackson, thank you so much for your leadership in this moment. Dean Smyre and so many others that often go unnamed, but I see you, I appreciate you, and I thank God for you each and every day. So God bless and may God keep you is my prayer.
Thank you so much, Reverend Woodall. We have Daniel Blackman actually that came on to the call. So we want to get Daniel Blackman in. He is running for Public Service Commission. And Mr. Blackman.
Hey, how are you?
How are you? Thank you for joining
Doing really
us again.
well.
You
I see
definitely...
some really good people on this call.
Oh yes, we have some powerful people on the call, but you have the floor right now.
Okay. Wow, I didn't expect it as quick. But first of all, I want to thank everyone. I'm in between cities. Had an amazing rally today with Reverend Warnock and John Ossoff in DeKalb County. And as it was stated earlier, a couple of minutes ago by our friend Mr. Woodall, the voter turnout is amazing. We've been in probably 8 cities in the last 12 days. And we feel good. You know, for those that don't know, my name is Daniel Blackman. I am on the ballot to serve as Georgia's next Public Service Commissioner. In the state of Georgia, the Public Service Commission regulates utilities. They're responsible for our energy investment. There is a $14.5 billion project that is another $14 billion over budget, which is a $30 billion nuclear project that all Georgians are paying for. We've seen skyrocketing rates of public health issues as it relates to coal ash, asthma, and also low air quality and federally funded waterways that are no longer funded since the current administration, which we're excited to see on its way out, has cut over 125 environmental policies in the U.S. So we're in a position now with the Public Service Commission where, if so fortunate with the support of all of you on this call, I see Craig King, I see Representative Smyre, and so many of you all on this call that has helped me to get as far as I am. With your support, we have an opportunity in Georgia to really change the narrative and to elect a Democrat to statewide office in almost 20 years. We also have an opportunity to take back a statewide constitutional office, which I'm sure in 2022 we'll do much more of. And I'll close with these 3 things. Number 1, COVID-19 has shown us how ill-prepared the state of Georgia is. So we're able to expand wireless broadband opportunities throughout the state of Georgia, which is so needed to many of our counties around this state, especially when our children are struggling with a lack of access to internet access and they're working from home. Small businesses, especially minority and women-owned businesses in this state, are struggling to recover because online transactions, payment processing, and the ability to succeed in the midst of a pandemic are critical. Our senior citizens on a fixed income who have to choose between their light bill and their medication or to rely on telemedicine. These are areas we just don't talk about. I believe this is probably one of the most prominent Public Service Commission races in the history of this state because we have been able to shed so much light on the work that many of you have done over the past several decades. I just happen to be the recipient of much of the work that has already been laid and the foundation that has been set before me. And the last 2 areas are Georgia's opportunity to expand clean energy in the state of Georgia, which we are not doing as much as we should, but as you know, Georgia Power is a monopoly in our state. We are overwhelmingly consumed with fossil fuels and nuclear, and we're not investing enough into solar. The Biden-Harris administration has already announced $2 trillion over the next 4 years, where they want to fight the climate crisis. And 40% of that goes towards environmental justice. That's 40% of $2 trillion, which is roughly $900 billion that is going to come through our communities. If people like us on this call aren't in a position for those opportunities, we have a major problem because it deals with our health, our security, and our safety. And if we're not dealing with that from a business or an entrepreneurial standpoint, we not only miss the opportunity in lowering utility rates and expanding broadband, but on minority contracting, which is my last point, we've got to hold Georgia Power and other utilities around this state more accountable. I don't agree with the $30 billion nuclear expansion because the entirety of that project was put on the shoulders of ratepayers. However, if just 10% of a $30 billion project went to women and minority-owned businesses, those are $3 billion in contracts that are left on the table every year. So this is an opportunity to lower utility rates, expand broadband, generate more clean energy in Georgia, and increase opportunities in rural Georgia, coastal Georgia, North Georgia, and Metro Atlanta as it relates to minority business contracts and opportunities. Please remember my name. It's a 6-year term, third or fourth highest salary in the state of Georgia. It's a position we don't think about. It's usually down the ballot. This year, we were fortunate to be on a presidential election race with two U.S. Senate races, and we've been able to forge our way into a runoff, and we're very proud and privileged to be able to represent those on this call. So thank you so much. I want to be respectful of the time, and this is really good, and I look forward to being your next public service commissioner.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Definitely. Give him a hand. Definitely. So right now,
sure.
Yes, Derrick.
No, sure. I just want to add a couple of points to Daniel because, you know, I know more emphasis has been on these 2 U.S. seats, but to Brother Blackman's point, the PSC is just as critical to all Georgians. When you look at utility costs, I mean, Georgia is ranked 5th out of 50 states. And so when you start talking about utility costs, especially if we get a cold winter or a hot summer, right, it would be great to have a voice like Daniel Blackman on the PSC to be able to bring reason to other commissioners on that board with him to remind them about the investment costs of nuclear power and solar power and the cost of utilities across all of Georgia. I think that's absolutely critical. So that's the reason why we always say, you know, Warnock, Ossoff, and Blackman. Those 3 names right there, we want to make sure, as we stated on this call a few weeks ago, that folks understand that we need to have a clean sweep, and that's with Warnock, Ossoff, and Blackman.
Exactly. Thanks for that, Derrick.
And just really quickly, what he stated about Georgia having the 5th highest electric rates, I want people to understand, in the U.S., about 5% of a person's income goes towards their utility bill. In Georgia, 18% of our income goes towards our utility bills. We're paying 3 times the national average in a state where we have almost 9% poverty. 10.2 million people call Georgia home, 1.9 million live at or below poverty. So when you think of the economic indicators on why Metro Atlanta does very well and the rest of Georgia struggles, it's because of the barriers for economic growth. So thank you all for the opportunity, and I look forward to hearing more about this conversation. Thank you.
Awesome.
Cheryl, Hank, I got a quick question.
Yes.
I don't think so.
Representative Derrick and Smyre, you can help me on this. But what are our needs? I mean, we hear the numbers are looking pretty good and people are going to the polls. Where are our target areas, Representative Smyre and Derrick and Blackman, you know, because, you know, I got some people on from South Georgia, Gina Hall, you know, we got some folks. We need to target the areas. You know, I'm happy to hear all the positive, but let's concentrate on what is not going well right now. So we'll know where to target, so we'll know who to pick up the phone and start calling for the next 5 days. Right, Matt Wilborn? I mean, we need to focus on that right now, I think, to get those numbers, because we don't want to wake up on the 6th and say, we look good, but we knew this area was there, you know, was not a good area, was not doing well. What areas right now, what is showing low as far as voter turnout?
I mean, my short answer real quick, Hank, is when you look at areas like Clayton County, when you look at Muskogee County, where I grew up in Columbus, Georgia, those areas have had turnout, but the turnout is a fraction of what we would like it to be. And I'm not a guy that likes to believe in close margins. I feel like if we're having historic numbers and people are turning out, we need to make sure that we're targeting areas where our populations are, where they're inactive, but registered voters that don't see the importance of this U.S. Senate race and of my race. Our race is a pocketbook issue race. So I'll say this, in areas like Albany, Savannah, Columbus, Macon, and Augusta, those 5 areas alone, if we were to increase turnout outside of the support we know we'll already get from Fulton, Cobb, Clayton, and the Metro Atlanta area, I think if we can focus on those 5 areas in particular to get high voter turnout, we see the numbers from our data that shows that we could actually do very well if just 2 of those cities performed extremely well. So I'm sure everyone else has data, but we can't just rely on Metro Atlanta. We've got to make sure Chatham County is in this conversation. We've got to make sure that even in North Georgia, in Forsyth County, the turnout is high. But when you look at Republican numbers versus Democratic numbers, it looks like we're actually outpacing. So we can't take any of these counties for granted, especially in rural Georgia, where many of us have relationships that we're just not tapping into. So that would be my answer, Hank.
Okay, because
well, let me ask this question: what strategies are actually being used to get these people out? Because one of the things that we talk about all the time is each one tell 10. You know, we can say 5 or 10, but take someone to the polls with you, or pick up the phone and call a family member, because we all have people who have not voted yet. So what other strategies are in place right now where we're getting those people in those areas where there is currently low voter turnout?
There's 2 things we're doing, I think, right. But there's one thing that I think we're doing very wrong. The first thing we're doing right is we're targeting communities that have been disenfranchised. Reverend Warnock and I were just in Stone Mountain yesterday doing a huge rally with the African community, folks from Ethiopia, from Gambia, Eritrea, Somalia. Folks came out and they're going to turn out, and we feel like those numbers are good. The Caribbean community, Latino community, our Indian American brothers and sisters. So we're doing good on outreach in diverse pockets that we need to make sure that we're targeting. The second area we're doing really good at is in targeting younger voters. We're seeing an influx of new registered voters between the beginning of early voting for registration. I'm sorry, from October to the end of early voting, which was early voter registration, which was December 7th. Those are the 2 good things. The area that we're missing is in rural parts of this state. We're not investing enough in radio and in print when it comes to reaching people in a certain segment that are not being targeted. And the reason why this is critical and important is because for a race like mine, where if you go down to Albany, Georgia, and the electric bills are as high as their rent, if people knew that there was someone on the ballot that can deal with their utility through radio, through our churches, and through print media, I think that would have a tremendous impact on the election. We're 8 days out, so there's limited amount we can do, but I don't think we should neglect the power of radio in rural parts of the state that reach 10 or 15 counties.
Awesome. Right now, I think we have the Vice Chair, Mike Blake, that's on the line. Mike Blake, are you on the line?
Good to see you. I'm here.
Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. We would definitely like you to join in this conversation.
Well, you know, anytime I'm listening to Brother Blackman, I know good things are happening. It's good to see his face. Sister Cheryl and Neil, always blessing to see you. I see my leader, Calvin. I see Mac. I see Derrick. So I'm going to try and stay in everybody's good graces out here tonight, you know, accordingly. You know, first and foremost, look, I just wanted to come and say thank you. We want to show everybody love, you know, that clearly everyone is paying attention. Everyone's watching. But, you know, I'll say this to Daniel, because I know obviously he's ripping and running as a candidate. I told someone earlier today, I remember when Blackman told me he was going to be running years ago. He was like, look, this has to happen for our people. Right. And to see this all coming to fruition gets me excited. And I want you to know we're proud of you, King, for what you're doing. You know, and I tell folks often that, you know, we need it to be a Warnock life. We need to get your Ossoff off your shoulder, and we need to elect a black man and black man to Georgia. Right. Right. So to the questions that were raised, so I'm a data guy, so I appreciate the point that Daniel mentioned. So, and we're gonna push that throughout. I'm gonna be very tactical and very practical here. A lot of us are gonna be pushing message, Cheryl, to one of the questions I raised earlier, of we got to get folks excited that normally are not excited to bring this thing home, right? Like every single person that's on this Zoom, if you're on a Zoom at 8:36 at night, you're going to go vote and you care about the election. We need to be talking about who's that young brother, young sister who's like, yo, I don't really care about this at all, right? I mean, that's the determination right now. So Daniel mentioned 5 counties earlier, and I was trying to make sure I heard them correctly so we could stay focused to that question that was raised. And I think it's important for us to start there and build. I heard Albany, Savannah, Clayton, Macon, and there was one other I think I heard him say as well.
Columbus and Augusta.
Columbus and Augusta. So in terms of us staying focused, and I see the message on type, let's hear if our statewide candidate is telling us we got 6 counties that need more attention, then let's focus on those 6, right? Now, I'm not saying that we're not going to get votes everywhere. We're going to try and push for them everywhere. And there's a lot of resources that we have been pushing that you won't see DNC's name on it. You won't see National Party's name on it, because as y'all know, a lot of times folks will say, I don't want to see something with the national brand on it. We ain't trying to do that. We want to make sure y'all win, right? So very concretely, for those areas, that's one thing. Second, I absolutely agree about hitting the clubs and the DJs and VJs. Several of us were actually just having a conversation earlier today about how we mobilize DJs from now through the end. So I would love to, and what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to put my info here in the chat, okay? So for anyone that wants to follow up and rock with us on this, I want you to let me know of every Georgia DJ that we can connect with, and equally our national DJs. There's a lot of our national DJs that we're going to start talking to. We want to get rocking with y'all starting tomorrow. And Derrick and Cheryl and others, again, I'm following your lead on this here. I see Tiger in there. Every day from now through the end, we need to have at least 2 IG Live events. At least 2. Because what I'm saying, I'm being very intentional on that. We need to get to the voters who right now we got to rock with, right? Those voters, they not trying to have a conversation with us in traditional means, but they are going to rock immediately with Real Housewives. They're going to rock immediately with the activities on the ground. And that's the kind of targeted efforts that we want to do with y'all tomorrow. So any person I don't care how small their station may be. I don't care what time their show may be on. The more we do that, then we're reaching out to people immediately to get rocking. Okay. Third thing, y'all know this. So I'm a Northwestern alum, so I'm a fanatic about sports. And the same way, we play New Year's Day, UGA is playing New Year's Day, and y'all got a bowl game in Atlanta. So something that a few folks were talking about, safely in Atlanta for those that are around the stadium, but separately, the virtual tailgates that should be happening across the state is a perfect way to organize. Meet people where they at. People going to be already watching the game. So love and lift up everything that's happening, right? And saying, okay, let's use everybody that's on this line and let's have some virtual tailgates on Friday. And while that's happening, have you voted? You haven't voted yet? Okay, here's how you're going to get involved with this. And let's plug people in a very practical way. That's another thing we want to get going immediately with everybody. Fourth, you can see something I'm wearing, and part of this is because a lot of us are part of an effort to raise funds to get to you all on the ground. So I'm going to put this in the chat. Anybody who's a hip hop head, and if you're not a hip hop head, then you know the old movie, but I'm gonna hope you have the hip hop love, right? Ode to Annie, of course. But we're gonna take it back. So it's a Warnock life. We using this, and if you go to the site, this is launching aggressively. It started this past weekend. Tracy Ellis Ross did a post. Hill Harper did a post. Angelo Pinto's down there did a post. So we can get more money to folks on the ground that are doing the work on the ground. Because at the end of the day, in no way do I want a scenario where folks are trying to tell y'all outside, what's best. Y'all know what's best. So we're going to make this real easy. Let's get you the resources. You got to do what you got to do. So what we've said to everybody, every Black Greek, you have your colors on the site. Every other organization, your colors on the site. We had one group just order 100 so they can get them out to clergy, because we already know there's obviously virtual church services that are happening. So as people are getting ready for that final service on Sunday, thinking about it in that manner, being very creative, but every single day, have people cop it. And what's going to happen? We're immediately going to get resources to people that are mobilizing on the ground. So y'all can tell us, you know what, this group is doing this. I was texting with a few folks this last few days. What, you know, Mondale with Black Voter Project. I was rapping with Dr. Kai and Made Men. I'm real clear. Who's doing the work? Let's connect y'all and support y'all in that manner. Okay. Last thing, big picture on this. We have to be crazy disciplined in the next 7 days because, and obviously Calvin and any of us who are elected understand this. They would only be coming at Warnock and Ossoff and Daniel right now if they're afraid they're going to lose. There is no reason. This foolishness I've been watching. Let me tell you, I've known Warnock 15 plus years. He was the Alpha Pledge up here in New York. Obviously, he gave me the honor of preaching in Ebenezer. I've sat with Blackman many times over the years, many times. This nonsense, if we can just call it for what it is, when white supremacy is afraid that black folk and allies that are aligned are about to emerge victorious, they get real upset. That's what's happening right now, Georgia. And so stay focused. Stay focused. Stay disciplined. Stay disciplined on the numbers. Stay disciplined on the counties. So very practical here. We have all been asked to not have people travel down to Georgia because we got to be smart about COVID right now. But we are going to be mobilizing phone banks and text banks from all over the country. Any activity you all have going, you're like, yo, I got a group of 15 people that just need someone to call and show them some love and check in. Hit me. I put my email in chat. Hit me with that. We'll get someone to call in. We'll get a surrogate to show some love on that. We got a text bank. We did a big text bank with Obama alumni just last week. About 100 people got on the phone immediately so they can get going. So lastly, tie this all together. Raising money for groups on the ground to get this momentum going. And again, remember what I said earlier. We got to talk about it's a Warnock life. We need to get the dirt off your shoulder, and we need to get a black man named Blackman elected. Be disciplined on that messaging. Be tight on that for the next 8 days. And let's follow what has to happen here. I come and on the personal note, right? Think about the beautiful opportunity you have. Because a lot of people thought we were going to win more seats in November. That you could have the scenario to give the power to the people with Georgia winning next Tuesday. And the power of the element of, yeah, it would be nice to be at 51-49. It'd be nice to be at 52-48. But if you're at 50-50, and every single time there's a major vote, that black woman's going to be sitting up there breaking that tie. That would not be happening if we were at 51-49. Wouldn't be happening if we're at 53-47. And at the same time, I want to make sure to my sisters, you know I love you dearly. But let's make sure we elevate and empower our brothers right now, because what we don't need is for the brothers to also feel that they're being pushed on the sideline. We all need to do this together. Because everybody wants to see us divided, and we're not going to let them divide us right now. So to my queens, we salute you. To my kings, I salute you. We're being proactive about that. I put my info in the chat. Let me know where we can get going so we can bring this home. You know parties, let me know. You got DJs, let me know. You got radio hosts, let me know. If Daniel has an event happening in any part of the state, and he's like, yo, I can't get there, I need someone to go cover that for us, let's move that and get that moving quickly so we can get that and mobilizing in that way. So, Brother Jackson, Sister Neal, I turn it back over to you. I appreciate y'all to let us show a little love from the DNC.
Thank you so much, Michael. Man, you gave us a full blueprint, so we know what to do now. The next 7 days, everything you just stated, we need to do. And we actually have a few DJs on the call right now who have committed to doing these IG lives. I know we have Sterling, he's a DJ. We also have DJ Jelly, the infamous DJ Jelly on the line, and they've all committed to doing this in the next few days. So I'm excited, we're excited. And you guys, right now, we're at capacity on his Zoom, and I know Reverend Warnock is trying to get on the call. So we got to figure this out. Rodney, can we expand the Zoom call? We can get more people on because we're at capacity. We're over 100 and we can't do it. So, okay. Derrick,
Hey, Cheryl, this is Gwen Mason. It's imperative that Warnock is on the call. I am going to drop and I'll have him fill me in, okay? So reserve that spot for him.
Okay.
I'll drop myself.
No need. Someone's already done that. You guys are okay. Thank you.
Oh, he's
All right,
already
thank you.
Wonderful.
All right, I'm gonna have him try again, Cheryl. Give me a second, please.
Okay.
I'm right here. Hello, everybody.
Hey, how are you?
I hear the voice.
Yeah, here he is.
Right.
There he is.
Reverend Warnock, thank you for joining us. We are excited.
Absolutely grateful to be here with my brother, Representative Derrick Jackson.
Yes.
You know, he's my fraternity brother. And don't ask, you know, which fraternity. Same one Jesus was in when he said, I am Alpha. He said something after that, but I don't remember. See, I'm getting on the call, starting some mess. I'm just.
That's what you are. That's what you're doing.
Starting some mess.
I think there's some Kappas on here, but they still voting for you.
Yeah, that's what we do. We lead the way.
He shed the blood, so we'll let the Kappas in. And he's also said something about Omega, you know. Sigmas, we love y'all too, everybody. We love everybody. And we're going to win this race together. Hello, how's everybody doing? You know, I know everybody's muted. I hope you're doing well. It's great to see you. Hey, Mac Wilborn, I see you over there. That's my friend. Good to see you. All right. Derrick, what am I supposed to be doing?
Oh, well, sir, the floor is yours. We just really trying to tell everyone how imperative it is to not wait for January 5th. It's real easy. There are three names that got to remember: Warnock, Ossoff, and Blackman. Go vote your Ossoff for a Warnock for a black man. It's that simple. But hey, Michael Blake already laid it out for us.
Oh, I can't top Mike Blake. I see the dean is on the call too. Calvin Smyre, good to see you, sir. So listen, everybody, I just want to say thank you. That's the first thing. My mama told me to say thank you first, though, and I mean it. Thank you for all of the love and the support for this campaign. Not just for me, but for John and for John Ossoff and for Daniel Blackman. Thank you for the energy we're feeling all across this state. And I've got sense enough to know that it's not so much for us. It's not about me. It's because you know what's at stake. And you're voting for yourselves and for your families and for the future of all of our children. So thank you for stepping up in this defining moment in American history. And I'm so proud that Georgia is at the center of the conversation. I mean, I'm a Georgia boy, and it could have been somewhere else, but it's right here centered in Georgia. Both Senate races. We got two. I mean, there are a lot of Senate races going on. There are only two runoffs, and they're both in this state. And then it fortuitous. Feels like a stroke of divine possibility. A young Jewish man, right? With that history of marginalization and anti-Semitism. Young Jewish man, the son of an immigrant, with all the ways in which we're busy, engaged, people are engaged in the politics of xenophobia and trying to scapegoat immigrants in a nation of immigrants. Running alongside an African-American preacher who grew up in public housing and now the pastor of the same church where Dr. King served. Coming out of Georgia. That's a sermon all by itself. In this defining moment in American history where we're fighting against two viruses, COVID-19 and COVID-16-19. And we have an opportunity to reverse the Southern strategy. A politics based on pulling people apart and dividing them, putting forth a moral vision that reminds us that we're connected. Connected. A tragic pandemic has reminded us that our connection to one another is inextricable and inescapable. We should have known it before a pandemic, but an airborne deadly disease reminds me that if my neighbor coughs, they're sick, but I'm in trouble. That doesn't make my neighbor my enemy. That means I need to stand up for my neighbor because their destiny is connected to mine. They might be uncovered, but I'm unprotected. I should want them to have health care, to have a livable wage, and for their kids to be able to go to decent schools and then go on and pursue some form of post-secondary education, whether it's college or vocational training, and not be so loaded down with debt when they're finished that they have a mortgage before they have a mortgage. That's what this campaign is about. And I'm deeply honored to be running. So I won't, the preacher won't preach to the choir today because I know this is the choir. But I need you to go out from here singing and tell everybody you know to vote like your life depends on it, because it does. Not just your life, but your auntie's life. I mean, how many of us have come across either on our own, or we know somebody who's got a tragic COVID story? We've seen up close in painful ways this year that to say elections have consequences is an understatement. Elections are a matter of life and death. So tell people to vote like their lives depend on it. Get out. We can vote up until December 31st, depending on which county you live in, either December 30th or December 31st. And we need to bank our votes before January 5th and then just seal the deal. Everybody else who's left, spend January 5th calling everybody you know and say, did you vote? Did you vote? Did you vote? And make sure they get to the polls, because the other side will probably have a surge on January 5th. That's when their folks are coming out. But we need to make sure our folks are coming out on January 5th too. So we push early voting, but we need folks to come out on January 5th, whatever date they need to come out. But the folks on this call, you take care of your business. If you got a mail-in ballot, don't mail it at this point. Tell people that, by the way. I don't know that I'd mail it at this point. The mail is moving slow. There's no guarantee it'll get there by election day. So you want to go to a drop-off box and drop it off if you're going to do vote by mail at one of the drop centers. And then spend election day getting everybody to the polls. We already know, based on November 3rd, that we have the coalition we need to win. And the only question right now is, will we show up? And if we keep showing up the way we're showing up now, we're going to have great news in just a few days. So thank you for being on the call. Know that my running is an act of love. I love the country. I love Georgia. And I love my two beautiful and brilliant children. They're 4 and 2. My daughter's 4, my son is 2. And I'm gonna go upstairs and get back to them. I know I'm biased, but they're the brightest 2 stars in the universe. I'm running for them because I know that my children will not really be okay unless other people's children are okay. And so we got to stand up for all of our children. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reverend Warnock. We so appreciate your time for coming on. And everybody keeps saying that when people are on this call at 8 o'clock, we preaching to the choir. Sometimes the choir needs to be continuously preached to. There may be certain things that we don't know. And when we have these calls and everybody is talking about different things, from policy to whatever is going on, somebody is learning something. And we're internalizing that and then taking that out to other individuals and making sure that we give them that information and those individuals go out and get to the polls. Because my thing is, has everybody on this call already voted? And if you haven't, you needed to be on this call to hear this information so you can go out this week to go vote. There are a lot of people on this call who are not from Georgia, who can't vote in this election. However, you know 10 to 20 people who live here in Georgia that you can direct to the polls to get them out. So these calls are necessary. They're extremely important. And that's why Be the Now has these calls. For those of you who don't know, Be the Now is a movement to motivate and educate people to use their voice and their vote to make a difference. That's the only way we're going to make change. So I want to just thank Derrick, State Representative Derrick Jackson, for getting several of these prominent individuals on this call. I would like to thank the board of Be the Now, from Hank Stewart, from the Stewart Foundation, to Craig King and Brandon Chris, who's the co-founders of Rap Plug, Erica Lash, and Kay Mullins, as well as Juanisha Spencer. So several individuals on this call who have been very instrumental in putting together Be the Now, and us collaborating with so many other organizations across this country and this state to get people out to vote. This is powerful. This is a powerful movement. And so I want to give Derrick some last words.
Cheryl, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Listen, I am so overwhelmed on your leadership, the Be the Now movement, and listen, we are all just doing our part. It's a team effort. When you think about what we all experienced back in November 2016, Cheryl, we were all, I'm just going to speak for Derrick Jackson for a second. Just saying, how in the world Hillary Clinton lose to the most unqualified person ever? Barack Obama said Hillary Clinton is the most qualified person ever to run the race, but people did not get out and vote. We took the vote for granted. Others were counting on others to vote. And so it has been great since the inception of Be the Now, the voice to mobilize, to get this choir together. I mean, it's a great problem to have when we exceeded capacity tonight. That's a great problem to have because the word is getting out and we have to continue on so we can finish strong to make sure that Ossoff, Warnock, and Daniel Blackman, those are three candidates, cross this finish line strong. And like the Dean Smyre, like Calvin Smyre said, we don't want to wake up January 6th and start scratching our heads. We got to bring forth that effort now. And so it was great for Michael Blake to be on and others to be on to bring forth that voice. And for those who do not reside in Georgia, sure, I appreciate what you said. They know others who live in Georgia, but if you don't live in Georgia, you can donate to the campaign. That's right. To Warnock, Ossoff, and Blackman as well.
That's right.
Yes, we actually had some questions in the chat. Michelle Matthews is asking if we can speak on how to donate from North Carolina. As Ms. Neal suggested, there are several people who are not Georgia residents. I'm one of them, but so you can tell just how excited we are from afar to participate. And so she's asking for information about that, as well as posting information regarding phone banking, so people who would like to do some phone canvassing as well. So we do have Mr. Neal, who has posted some great information about our three candidates that we spoke from. So you can see it in the chat, but it is warnockforgeorgia.com, danielforgeorgia.com, and electjohn.com. And John, of course, is J-O-N, all right? So you can check that out in the chats as well. These are going directly to their campaigns to get them mobilized. We've heard some great information, specifically, I know from Mr. Blackman on different things that they're looking to do. And also from Mr. Blake, who's working, I know, heavily with with Reverend Warnock about some different grassroots things, whether it's getting to the DJs and the parties and the shirt apparel. So everything that you're doing, directing your funds to them will, I'm sure, be a game changer in the next 7 days.
Cheryl, we got to be dogmatic about this thing. I mean, Miles Monroe say die empty. We got to leave it all on the field, guys. I'm telling you this, ladies and gents, we've got to. I mean, I've started posting. We got 5 counties out there. We know what it is. We know Clayton. We know Albany. We know, what I mean, we know where the turnout is low. We got to be dogmatic about this. Keep getting people to the polls, but we got to be very aggressive. We got 5 days. We got 7 days to get this thing done. We got to die empty, leave it all on the field. I would hate for us to wake up on the 6th of January, and we're like, I should have called so-and-so. We saw how close the last vote was. We saw how close. We were waiting for counties. We were looking for counties that looked like us to drop. Right? We were happy when Clayton. So I sent a message to Clayton. Clayton, your job ain't done. You did great for the presidential, but you got to get back out there now. It's time to go back to the polls. We cannot, I'm telling you, I don't hang around Kelvin Smyre too long. I know I've been hanging around him too long, but I'm telling you, we got to leave this thing, we got to die empty, man. We got to leave this thing on the field. Any sports fans out here, we got to play this thing right now. We got to play it. We got to play it. I mean, we cannot know where the problem is and then not do nothing about the problem. That's crazy. That's crazy as hell. We know where they are. Everybody in Clayton County, we need to be calling them like crazy. Right? We got to die empty on this thing right here. I mean, this is serious. The whole world is looking at Georgia. The whole world. Right? The whole world is looking at us. I posted my son and I voted, Cheryl, in the John Ossoff and Warnock page. I got messages from all over the world. People thank you from California, thank you from Nevada, thank you from LA, thank you from North Carolina, thank you from Florida, thank you. I mean, everybody's trying to motivate us, and we're here. We can do something about it. I appreciate Michael Blake from wherever he is, but we're here. We're here. We got to die empty on this thing. We got to be ready to go. Take everybody in your house, drag them to the poll. My son and I was number 9 and number 10 on the first day of early voting at South DeKalb Mall. Number 9 and number 10 before the doors opened. Before the doors opened, we were 9 and 10. We got to get this thing done.
We're being asked.
Quit acting like the Falcons. Get it done. Close it out.
We're being asked to list the 5 counties again. If someone can list those in the chat.
It's one county. It's Clayton County, right? And then it's Columbus. It's Albany. Hold up, I'm posting on social media.
I got it. It's Columbus.
Hold on now.
It's Columbus, Albany, Macon, Augusta, Savannah. Those are the 5 cities. And I just said Clayton County as a whole because we know the votes are there, but the turnout has been low. If we targeted those 6 areas, those are the numbers from our data, where if numbers are high there, the turnout will be where it needs to be for us to be successful. That's what we've based our numbers on.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I mean, we have our marching papers. We know what to do. Everybody on this call knows what they need to do. If you have not already voted, go out and vote tomorrow. It's as simple as that for people on this call. If you're here in Georgia and you can vote, and take someone with you. But everybody can get on the phone and do your own phone banking. Call your family and your friends and get them out to the polls. Those individuals who are out of state, do your own phone banking. Call your family and your friends in Georgia and get them out to the polls. It's as simple as that. Michael Blake laid it out. So I want to, we're going to end the call now, unless anybody else has any other questions or comments. But we're gonna go.
One second, Rodney Neal, he posted something in the chat, but if you could just speak that to the group as well.
Okay.
That was actually pretty significant.
Sure will. Everybody knows somebody in the College Park area, around the country. Everybody has family down in that College Park area.
Exactly.
You know, Camp Creek, etc. So that's my point.
If I may inject this, and I appreciate Michael Blake. In fact, I was on a call last night with that I joined a spiritual call with faith leaders around America, and you know, what gets me fired up is I see more people outside of Georgia more fired up than people inside Georgia. That's what gets me. That how could you live in Georgia and be a community leader, be involved in any kind of organization? I don't care whether it's whether it's the Divine Nine. I don't care whether it's the social activities, community. I mean, I got all of my colleagues from around just all state legislators around the country. What can I do to help? So that's what we got to see. It's they want to help us, you know, for us to rise to the occasion. So I'm looking at the numbers now. At this point in the 2020 general, we were at 1.572, 1,572,000 votes. Right now, we're at 1.471 million, which is approximately 6% down. And I'm saying that number's 20-some% about a week and a half ago. So at least we closed that gap. And the way we close that gap is for us to keep flushing and keep pushing it and keep getting people excited. You're not going to get people to vote unless you get them what? You got to put some fire in the behind and get them excited. They got to understand that's what's at stake. And then the younger people, and I'm encouraged by the numbers, I'm looking at the younger people. So we got to keep pushing them as well. And in Columbus, our numbers are down. So we decided we raised some money. We started putting teams on the street. We started pushing people on every corner from 4 to 6 and then from 7 to 9 in the morning with signs and horns and pushing people through these caravans, through these communities and paying people to be out in the community, raising the money and doing that. So that's what we got to continue to do because we're going to be outspent these last few days now. And Blake will tell you that. And so what we got to do, we got to compensate that by being more energized and using our resources that we have. And our resources is being together collectively, using our, like all the DJs. Just imagine that all the DJs in Georgia were to get together and say, let's do this. Just think about that. They're touching more people than anybody. So that's my 2 cents.
Just can I say one 30-second thing? I know we're about to wrap here. To Calvin's point right there.
I was just going to repeat what you put in the chat. If you could put it in the chat and where people can follow you and they can just repost lots of things. Because what we can do, like Mr. Smyre is saying, we gather very intensely on social media. So the pandemic doesn't really stop us as much because we're very socially active. So if we can follow a person like you, Mr. Blake, who has, I guess now it's a Warnock life, and we can get these fun hashtags, get your dirt also off your shoulder. These are great. They get catchy, but it also is a great place for people to get content that they can just repost in the next couple of days, including who do I know in Georgia? That's a great post that you can put that gets a lot of feedback. If you're not in Georgia, if you are a Georgian resident, to say, oh, who do I know in Clayton County? And name off, kind of do a roll call. These are all types of great engagement activities that marketing companies use all the time that you can use to Ms. Cheryl's point about doing your own internal phone banking. But again, Mr. Blake, if you can end again with your suggestion on the tailgates with the upcoming Peach Bowl.
Well, definitely. I mean, and to Calvin's point that he just mentioned, I want us to be creative about this. Look, obviously, this year has been hard for all of us, but think about this. For the first time in any of our lives that we can think about, you're going to have tens of millions of folks that are going to watch night service and probably have New Year's Eve parties sitting behind a computer. So when we talk about being very practical, right? Think about how to mobilize that energy Thursday through the rest of the election, where you're going to have folks straight up for hours. I mean, we're already doing, Club Quarantine with DJ D Nice and everything else like that. So you gearing up for your church service? That's a perfect time to send some reminders to folks. Every person on here, talk to your pastor and ask your pastor, are they going to do a message to remind people about voting? They may not be able to say Warnock or Ossoff or Blackman. They can do that in their individual capacity. But if they want to say to folks, make sure you go vote, right? The hashtags are there. We mentioned that. And to Calvin's point, about what they're doing in Clayton specifically, if you have people already in your respective counties, and we're talking about 6 specific ones here, let us know what you need so we can support them, right? That's our job. Our job is to help y'all. It's not to get in the way, right? So the phone numbers for phone calls and text bank, go to the 3 campaign website. You can immediately plug in there, so you can do that work. And let's really get mobilizing quickly. So I put my emails and the info in there. Follow that, yes. But I am ready to start with y'all tomorrow, right? I'm ready to start tomorrow. Just literally, let's move, let's go. We have people that want to support the cause.
Awesome. Well, again, we want to thank everyone. I know we could go on and on, but I think we got some phenomenal information in very strategic ways that we can, as many of you are saying, put boots on the ground starting tonight. So we've got phone banking strategies, social media as well, virtual parties, the New Year's coming up, like you're saying, church services, family Zoom. So we've got our hands full and lots to do wherever we reside. This has been recorded. We're also on Facebook Live. It's been recorded. I encourage you to tag people on social media. We're at Be The Now on Facebook. You can also follow us on Instagram at Be The Now, the letter B, The Now. We'll keep everyone updated. If there's information that you see about events going on in Georgia to encourage and motivate and mobilize the vote, DM us and we'll make sure that gets reposted. IG lives are going to be crucial. So if you know of anyone of any type of influence, if they've got one person following them, they have influence. So whoever you know, I encourage all of us to do a small IG live. If you don't have Instagram, get on it for this week. You can cancel it next week. This is a great way to reach people, particularly the youth. And so if that's the demographic that you say you want to reach, that's where you have to find them. They're not as much on Twitter and Facebook as much as they're on Instagram and TikTok and things of that nature. So as it's been echoed all night, we have to meet everyone where they are. So that said, you can follow us in those channels, and this way we can keep in contact with each other within the next couple of days of any critical information, and also reiterating all the ways that we can donate and get active. That said, I'm going to turn the call over to Mrs. Neal to end the call, and just on her behalf, also thank all of you all for joining us. Says immensely about what you think about your civic duty, but also to our illustrious guests. And as you can hear, everyone is serious, and boots are on the ground, and you have as much support as you possibly can. So, Mrs. Neal, we'll close it with you.
Yeah, basically Kay said it all. And, I don't want to keep repeating what everyone has said. We know what we need to do to get this thing done. So let's, as Hank stated, let's put our feet on the ground, those boots to the ground, and let's get this thing done. And I just want to thank Derrick again, Derrick Jackson. I want to thank Calvin Smyre. I want to thank Daniel Blackman, John Ossoff, Reverend Warnock, Michael Blake, Russell Neal, Rodney Neal, Cedric King that's on the call, Juanisha Spencer, Mac, my guy Mac Wilborn. I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us tonight. Let's get this thing done, you guys. Let's make history again. Let's keep Georgia blue. Good night. Thank you.
Let's go get it.
Let's get it.
Let's go.